Hi guys, good morning to everyone, and once again my name is Mr. Adams. This is coming from the studios of Golden Eye Films TV, and I'm here to talk about a very disturbing news, a very disturbing problem that we as human beings we encounter every day in our lives, but we normally don't seem to know why people commit such atrocities. We normally don't understand why somebody would like to take his own life. It is very disturbing when you wake up in the morning, or when you find out that your loved one or somebody you know, somebody close to you has committed a suicide. That is what I want us to look at it today. You know, all over the world, a lot of suicide cases are increasing every day. All over the world, a lot of suicide cases are increasing every day. India, the United States, everywhere. Suicide is not about it's not only about the poor countries. Suicide is something that is universal. It affects everybody because it's actually the decision taken by an individual. It is always a decision taken by an individual, and whether people in power, politicians or governments, have something to do in order to prevent this kind of things happening, then that is another matter. We want to look at why people commit suicide. We want to find out why people commit suicide. Now, when you hear that somebody has committed suicide, the first thing that normally comes to our mind is heartbreak. And it is true. To me, there are a lot of causes of suicide. Why people should take their life. There's a lot of causes that make people to commit suicide. So I'm going to look at them one after the other, and then we will choose those that we think affect us in Ghana here or in Africa here. It is very important, because the causes that affect people in America to take their own lives might be slightly different in Africa here or in Ghana here. So we have to look at them in two different ways. So there are a lot of them that I want to mention one after the other, why people decide to take their own life. And we all know what is suicide. Suicide simply means that anybody who intentionally takes his own life is a suicide. He's committed suicide. That is why I guess want us to look at it, why people always want to commit suicide. Now, there are so many causes of why people always want to commit suicide. I will mention them one after the other, and then we look at the important ones. We look at those that we think are normally the cause of people in Africa here or in Ghana here, why people should take their own lives. I think last week or 2 weeks, we've all heard what happened to the young guy who committed a suicide. I think this is the second time that underage children are committing suicide. The explanation was that what they see on TV is what they always want to imitate, and then at the end of the day, they lost their lives. And is it true? When somebody dies without leaving a note, nobody knows why he decides to commit suicide. Whatever we say is assumptions. They are not the real fact, because the person did not leave any note to say that this is the reason why I died, or this is the reason why I decided to kill myself. So we always have to be careful when we assume that people take their lives because of this. It prevents the police to go further to find out the cause, because at times you might think that the person is committing suicide because of something, meanwhile it might be totally different. That is why I want us to look at why of late a lot of people are committing suicide. That is what I want to look, and I'll mention the causes, and after that I'll pick 5 most important ones that I think it is common when people commit suicide. This is what we normally think happen, before they took their own lives. So I will start mentioning number one. I think I have about 10 of them, and then we choose the ones that we think is common, normally associated in people in Africa here or even in Ghana here. So my number one causes of suicide, why people commit suicide at times, number one is mental illness. Mental illness is number one. The fact of the matter is that when people are mentally sick, they take decisions that they don't even know that it will cause their death. They take decisions that at times will take their life, but they don't know in the process. They don't know that if I do this, I'll kill myself. So people who are mentally ill are likely to commit suicide, and normally people who commit suicide, one of the causes might be the person is mentally ill. So mental illness. Now, number two, I'm mentioning those that are normally cause people to commit suicide, and after that we have to break it down to the most important ones, why we think the common ones, why. So don't worry about the causes that I'm mentioning. Some of them you might not even know that they can cause people to commit suicide, but we have to also mention them because when somebody commits suicide, these are the list of causes that people might want to look into. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist, but they said when you learn, when you research, you get information, and when you get information, you can share with people. YouTube is all about sharing ideas. So I'm going. Number one is mental illness. When somebody is mentally sick, he can do things that will eventually kill him. So that is number one. Number two is bullying. At times we see bullying as something that is not common, but it is there. There are people that are suffering in the hands of people, but they don't want to say it, because the more they say it, the more they get into trouble. So there are people who are suffering in the hands of people, but they just don't want to come out and say it. And at the end of the day, when it becomes too much for them to bear, they decide to take their own lives. So that is number two. Bullying. Bullying is number one. One of the causes of why people commit suicide. So bullying is another one. When the police or the investigators, they are investigating a case concerning suicide, at times they look at all these causes. Now, number three is drug addiction. This is very, very common in Africa here, and it is very, very common in Ghana here. Lot of the youth are into drugs, so they get addicted. And when you become addicted to something, then it ruins your life. Okay, in the first place, they normally take these drugs as a form of maybe trying to solve a problem, trying to experiment, and at the end of the day, they get addicted, and then they become something else. So when you become a drug addict, it can cause you to commit suicide. It is very, very common in Africa here that most of drug addicts, they end up committing suicide because of the problems that they face, while taking drugs. So drug addiction also is one of the causes of how will I put it, suicide. Why people commit suicide is one of the causes, drug addiction. Number four, which is also another common factor in Africa here why people commit suicide, is unemployment. It is unemployment. And the fact of the matter is that there are people, after doing everything humanly possible to get a job, and the job is not forthcoming. They've done everything, and they are still not getting a job. They become so frustrated that they don't even know what to do. At times, some of them think that, okay, life is not fair to them, so the best way I can do is to take my own life, is to commit suicide. So unemployment is another cause of what? Why people commit suicide. People will do everything humanly possible to find a job, but after struggling all over the years and all those things, they are not able to get a job. Then they feel that the world is against them. And for that matter, the only way they can rest in peace is to kill themselves. So unemployment is also another factor. So in Africa here, it is one of the common causes, because the unemployment rate is so huge in Africa here. So people commit suicide after struggling to find the jobs, and the jobs are not there, so they end up taking their own lives. Now let's go to number 5. Number 5 of why people commit suicide. Number 5 is the dreaded one. Everybody knows about it. Once somebody commits suicide, it's a young person. The first thing they normally think or want to focus on is heartbreak. This is very, very, very common in Africa here, or even the whole world. This has nothing to do with geographical area. It is universal. Everywhere it happens, because love breeds everywhere. Love exists everywhere. So heartbreak is number 5, and that is the most common one that we find. That when people are hurt in a relationship, they always think that the best way to resolve the issue is to commit suicide. I actually will be bringing a topic. I'm still doing some 1-2 about it. I actually want to bring a topic that would be about why a lot of men commit suicide when it comes to relationship as compared to women. So I'm just chipping in this information so that my viewers will anticipate this topic. We'll be talking about it maybe the coming days. Why a lot of men in Africa or in the world commit suicide more than women in terms of relationship. So number 5 is the dreaded heartbreak. Now everybody understand what I'm saying about heartbreak. People commit suicide because they have been hurt. The one they love so much has decided to call it a day, and then they think that they can, after doing everything to reconcile the relationship, and it's not working, they end up committing suicide. Or at times when they catch their loved one in bed with another person cheating they saw it, and then they caught them on the act. At times the pain is too much that some people decide to commit suicide. So heartbreak is one of the common causes of suicide in the whole world. It doesn't matter the location, because love exists everywhere, and the people commit suicide when it comes to relationship. Anybody can leave anybody at any country, anywhere in the world. So number 5 is normally the common one that we find. People feel that they can't handle the pains, they can't handle the heartbreak. So they decided that the best way for me to do is to take my own life, especially when they love the person so much, and they believe that apart from them, there's nobody that should marry that person apart from them. So they decide that once I can't have you, then there's no need for me to live. So they end up taking their own lives. This is the reason why I want us to look at all these particular issues, so that we'll be able to address them when we see the signs and symptoms of somebody who is likely going to commit suicide.